Wonderful.
We need someone to reel us
Is
in.
it in English? Is it I was
There-
born in the darkest?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Svapitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatavitam Tam Sajivam Sahadvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Dehivam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Brindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Prihe Vanshakalpa Tarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebho Vaishnavebho Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shiva Sadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're going to begin with chapter 2, verse 23 with the Bhagavad Gita, with translation and purports by Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jai. Nainam chidanti sastrani, nainam dahati pavaka, na chainam kledyanti apo nasosayati marutaha. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can he be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Purport: all kind of weapons, swords, flames, rains, tornadoes, etc., are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there were so many kinds of weapons made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to the modern weapons of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of the modern age are classified as fire weapons, but formerly there were other weapons made of all different types of material elements. Firearms were counteracted by water weapons, which are now unknown to modern science. Nor do modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut into pieces, nor annihilated by any number of weapons, regardless of scientific devices. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual souls from the individual soul. The Mayavadi, however, cannot describe how the individual soul evolved from ignorance and consequently became covered by illusory energy. Because they are atomic individual souls, Sanatana, eternally, they are prone to be covered by the illusory energy, and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of the fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In the Varaha Purana, the living entities are described as separated parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so, according to the Bhagavad Gita also. So, even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. So, a couple of points here. The purport's over now. I'm talking. So there were these ancient weapons. For those of you who have or are familiar with the Mahabharata, Arjuna was the one who could wield these weapons. They were like the Brahmastra, for instance. Arjuna was known as a Maharath. He was someone that could fight 700,000 warriors simultaneously. And the reason he could do that is because he had this Brahmastra weapon. It was mystical. It had this very powerful energy. It was almost like on the same scale as a nuclear weapon, but it's not real. I mean, we think of nuclear weapons of today, there's like this fallout and half-life. It makes the whole environment disgusting, But the Brahmastras of the past, I mean, they had that destructive power, but I don't believe they had...
Prabhupada said the difference between a nuclear weapon now and a Brahmastra is when a Brahmastra is released, Krishna or Arjuna have the power to call it back. Like if they want to target something, then that. But we, because we're incomplete and we're not as smart, a nuclear weapon, we have no control over the destruction it's going to do. We can't call it back. We can't specifically direct it.
Right.
So it was very mystical, and it is similar to what we know, but probably even more powerful, because it could be directed. And
I appreciate you bringing that up. I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
I'm just here for
that was fantastic. It was really good.
Yeah. And we just want to annihilate the whole.
Just go for it, like everything else.
I mean, when I think of the soul not being able to, you can't cut it to pieces. Like, this is not a perfect analogy, but I think of like a flea. Like I used to have a dog, and my dog would get fleas occasionally, and I would try to get these fleas out, and you can't just crush the flea. It's like they're very resilient. It takes a lot of pressure. You have to like use your fingernails or something to actually
cut them in half.
To cut them in half, exactly. That's all you can do.
Yeah.
But of course, with the soul, there is no way to destroy it. But it's like it has that same resilience that it's so infinitesimally small. I mean, by saying it has that infinitesimally smallness, you think it must have some kind of mass, but at the same time, and then you can't.
So even if you're cutting that flea in half,
right,
you're still not cutting its soul into pieces.
No,
right?
no way. Exactly, exactly. You got it.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I love that concept.
Me too.
Yeah.
But I have such a hard time thinking of it as so infinitesimally small. I feel like the soul is so...
It's
so
vast.
Big. It's so big because it's that part of Krishna. But it's so small that materially we cannot conceive it. But spiritually, that's what our life force is.
Right.
It's not just prana. It's our Paramatma within us.
Right.
Because it's like the speck of Krishna. Just a drop.
I like when they refer to it as a spark.
Right, a spark.
Within me.
Yeah.
Like that makes me, that's visually, like that helps me, like this spark.
Yeah.
And now they show that at the time of conception, science, and I used to have a yoga teacher that would always say science is finally keep catching up to the yogic scriptures.
Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Yogi Charu used to say it all the time. Prabhupada said it too. He said, if science admitted all their mistakes, they'd have to change all their books, but everything's in the Bhagavatam. And so now science has films of like egg and ovum and sperm connecting, and then there's a spark of light. There's a literal, you can see it. It's a spark of light, and that's the soul.
Wow. Ooh, that just
amazing.
Gave me a chill.
Yeah.
Yeah. That is amazing.
Because you can't explain how, you know, okay, we all have these, we're this human body, right? But in reality, throughout who has this, who has that, we're perfect.
We are, yes.
And you look around at every human being, and we have things maybe we have to deal with, right? But in all, like this body, right? Like we don't have to plug into a wall every night and be like, okay, I got to charge up my heart and my lungs. And even while you sleep, this body just... So this body, it's like we're really perfection. When you look around in the world, you go into a crowded place, people are walking and talking, and it's like creation. It's like
it is crazy.
It's crazy.
I can't even fathom it. It's like incomprehensible to
and
me.
everything's so mathematical, and we do have a recharge. Sleep is our recharge.
You're right, exactly.
And that's perfectly planned too, that our circadian rhythms follow the sun, and our bodies go with the sun and the earth. And did you know the measurements of your body? Like, it's crazy.
What? So like your foot is like, is it your foot?
I think it's your foot. Your pinky is like the width of your forearm.
Like we're developed so
we're
perfect.
So mathematical.
I think the foot is from wrist to the elbow is your foot measurement.
Yeah, and it's like if you can massage your body with your feet perfectly too, because that curve in your foot perfectly encompasses like your muscles. But it's going to be different on my body than it is to your body.
But yours is the way yours needs to be.
It's so much math.
We're really like these perfect specimens in a sense, you know? And you think in that little spark and this little piece of semen, these two cells can just keep creating like that. And it's like, is that scientific? I don't know. Like, to me, that's God. Like, that's God's perfection in a sense that, you know, and then the animals and then the...
Right, and how it's all
and
like how different, but
the bird yesterday if I put on the sprinklers at like a certain time of night, right, like the sun's starting to set, and I'm like, let me put the sprinklers on, and now it's like I can't wait to go home to put the sprinklers on at this time, because the birds they know now, and now they come and take their bath. They come and take a bath, and they're looking for worms, because now the ground gets soft and they could get in there, and it's like this. So I turn it on now, and they all come, and I'm in amazement every night, like. And my kids are like, you're so weird. Just sit here and watch what happens. And then
do they come if you don't put it on?
No.
They come for the water.
So
they come once it's on.
Yeah. Once it's on, they come, and they'll tell each other.
I thought you meant they were predicting.
No. I put that sprinkler on, and they all start talking to each other. And they start swooping in on the lawn. They start bathing. They're sticking their little beaks in the ground, grabbing worms. It's like the most beautiful thing. So, and when I see that, like I'll call my kids out and be like, you know, and they get a little excited, but they're like, okay, bye. You know, meanwhile, I'm in awe that I could just turn on a sprinkler and just
see the interaction.
Yeah,
this morning I woke up and
I'm gonna have to pay attention.
And my garden is right out my bedroom window, and it's like I open my curtains, and it gives me so much joy. So the sprinkler had just turned off, and there was a robin perched on top of the sprinkler with a green worm in her mouth, and I could see it from my window. I'm like, wow, that's the coolest thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Nature is wild.
Yeah.
If you pay attention to what's going on, the sounds, the smells. It's beautiful. Yeah. It really is this perfect, it's perfection.
We're perfectly made, and it's wonderful that we think about our soul and our soul within this body, and it boggles my mind that not everyone thinks about this stuff.
No, just how our skin works, and just everything, and just from these two little cells.
But I feel like and you say the same thing, like, I feel like I've always known it, even as a kid. I feel like I've always known that, but like continuously throughout, your life, whatever, the information from people and the environment, it breaks you.
Yes.
You know,
and to come back to this realization feels really good.
Yeah, and I've always said, like, to certain people, like, you're trying to break my spirit. You know, like,
yes. Because we do encounter people in our lives that try to bring us back into this ignorance.
Right.
And they're not doing it like, most of the time they're really not doing it maliciously. They are well meaning.
Right.
You know.
But now knowing that it's gonna make me cry, like that your spirit can't be broken.
Right.
No matter what.
No matter what.
Words, weapons, weather, all of that.
Situation.
It can't break your spirit.
No.
You know?
And you are remembering from another time. It's just like, I always say it in kirtan, you're wiping the mirror of your heart. This knowledge is in our cellular body from another lifetime. And we might not remember it when we first pop out of our mothers because we're so distracted with everything else. But when life starts wearing you down and you start looking for answers, then I think, like, the universe reveals this information again. It's like, oh, you ready? You ready to know why you're suffering? You're ready to know why,
come back to
what
this
the answer
knowledge.
is to this. But it's not just a coincidence that you feel that way. It's your soul remembering. Just like when we chant in kirtan, how everyone gets so enthusiastic. It's your soul remembering. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. But it's hard to keep it up all the time. That's why we have association.
It really is like walking out the door from here. Sometimes it's like
And even before you first encounter kirtan and devotees in your life, you can, like, I think you said that you had these notions before, and that is very likely a result of sukriti, which the pious credits that we accumulate in previous lifetimes. That's always stays with us. As we're going to see in Bhagavad Gita 2:40, there is no loss, diminution on this path. And that knowledge will save you from the worst kind of fear.
I love that.
Yeah, of course. And when I think, and just not to go on a big tangent, when I hear the worst kind of fear, it's like, for example, there was a situation when I was traveling with my guru in 2003. We were in Mexico, and all of a sudden there was a lot of turbulence, and there was an announcement
on the plane,
and they said, we left the cargo door open. We have to go back to the airport and close the door and then take off again. It was one of the bumpiest rides in my life, and I was scared. And I'm looking at my guru. He's 90 years old. He's alert, but he is not afraid at all. And there's his secretary, an Italian devotee, Golokananda Prabhu. I think he took sannyas recently, but anyway. He had this dreamy look on his face. He's like, just chant Hare Krishna. He was completely calm, almost blissful, actually. And it was a bumpy ride.
So did you chant, and did it help?
I did. And actually, I did chant, like, when I came back from Vrindavan. It was also a turbulent ride. So I was, chanting the Maha Mantra. I was chanting the Shringadev prayers. I was asking Srimati Radharani for help. And it was like, it worked, really. I felt relief.
Yeah.
Not just inside, but externally. It went away. Yeah. It kept coming back, but I had to keep doing it over and over. But there was always relief, and there was always internal and external relief. When you do it with faith, you will get that. And it just comes with just practice. You can't expect instant
That's why
results.
We practice japa.
Yeah.
For those times.
Exactly.
It's your go-to. It's your default setting.
Yeah. There's another half of this that I wanted to address, unless someone had an outstanding comment. So we're talking about the Prabhupada mentions Mayavadi. Now, I don't know I think we addressed this a couple of times, but they basically believe that, we're all one, and we're ultimately, not distinct, that we're all going to become God. Now, this is not what we believe. We all believe we have distinctive individual, characteristics, even in the spiritual world. And that's why, like I've talked about in the previous sessions we had about the 5 rasas, because eventually we will have that distinct identity in the spiritual world. Not just here, like we're all different people, but we will have that in the spiritual world, and we have a distinctive relationship with Radha and Krishna.
Does Christa know the 5 rasas?
I don't.
Okay. Okay.
I can talk about this every time.
Let's talk about it again,
really...
because I find it it's encouraging, because to know that we will have this eternal relationship, because our relationships in this world are tenuous. We lose our friends, we lose our spouse, we lose our parents to death.
But what is our identity if it's not based on our relationships?
Our identity ultimately is the eternal identity that we have with Radha and Krishna. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. He is the one who is controlling everything. He is the creator of these innumerable material universes, and Srimati Radharani is his supreme consort, which she is the complete embodiment of love and compassion and devotion, yes. And but it is through her love that ultimately she has the control over Krishna. So she is actually the most powerful of in existence. And we have an opportunity to have an eternal relationship with them. And we each have this disposition that, it's not something that we should be like fantasizing about, like, oh, I like this, and we share that with people. It's not like that at all. But eventually, when one becomes highly advanced, really, really advanced, then you realize what your relationship is. And this can encourage you, and it also, it's what you will experience in the spiritual world. But anyway, on to the 5 rasas. There is Shantaras. Now, Shantaras is peace, and I believe there is the word neutrality implied in there. And that is the relationship that plants and animals will have with Krishna in the spiritual world. So like Krishna's cows, I think even Krishna has a pet dog in Goloka. 2, thank you. Appreciate that. They have names. I don't remember their names.
Viagra, and
Viagra?
I swear to God, it's right. That's the only reason I remember it.
Okay.
I don't remember the other one.
Oh my Lord.
That's where they took the name Viagra from?
They might have. Yes, from Krishna's dog, yes.
Wild beast.
Oh my God.
Is that like blasphemy?
It might be, but also it might be. They might actually get some pious credits just from saying the name.
We should find out what Viagra means.
I'm asking ChatGPT.
Because
who is Krishna's pet dog? What is Krishna's pet dog's name?
Yes.
Right.
But the truth is that so many of what actually happens here and comes from like either Sanskrit words or meanings, and you never know. Like Viagra could mean something in Sanskrit that we don't know.
Yeah, they all have different meanings.
It's not a coincidence.
It's
Somebody
hardly anything is a coincidence.
Right.
It's Viagra and
Brahmaraka. Brahmaraka.
He had a lot of pets.
Yeah.
He also loved bunnies.
Oh,
said next to cows, Krishna loved bunnies.
Really?
That's adorable.
Oh, I love bunnies so much.
So
and my yard is
sweet.
filled with them besides the birds happening.
Oh my God,
Yeah.
last night there
And
was
my
a
bunnies
family.
aren't walking away. They're like coming close to me. It's
I love
insane.
it so much.
I feel like I'm friends with my bunnies. I don't
Yeah.
know what to talk about. I'm going on in my yard lately.
And that's why you want to be there.
I constantly. What
Being
happened?
outside in the world.
Actually, there is a story about there's a jackal that comes to drink water at Radhakund, and the children were disturbing the jackal because, of course, jackals have this like negative connotation. People don't like them very much.
Right.
But Srimati Radharani was there, and she discouraged those children from bothering the jackal, and she blessed that jackal and transformed the jackal in the process. So
Into what? Something else?
devotee. I mean,
Okay.
to be completely candid, I don't.
Right.
I vaguely know this story. I wish that I had it with perfect clarity, but
They were abusing the dog,
yeah.
and there was a gang of them, and they wouldn't stop. And then Radharani heard the cries of the dog and became so sad, and then went and helped the dog. But I don't know anything beyond that too.
Really? Wow. I'm even shocked that.
Blessed her with eternal service, which is the pinnacle. This is what the 6 Goswamis are crying for, to have the eternal service of Srimati Radharani. So that was like the ultimate benediction.
The second rasa?
Oh yes, that would be Dasya Ras, which is best encapsulated by Hanuman. Hanuman is the monkey king that was the servant of Ramachandra in the Ramayana. And he just had so much of an intense serving mood to Rama, and helped him so much in that struggle to get Sita back from Ravana.
Anytime you see Das or Dasi, it means servant.
Yeah.
So just like you can figure these out, Shanti Ras means peace. Shanti means peace. Rasa means pastime.
Right.
And the next one is Dasarath. And then as a yogi, you guys will pick these words. Seriously, you're hearing them enough that make the connection now.
Yeah. And then there's Sakya Ras, which is the mood of friendship, which is like the cowherd boys with Krishna. And to some degree, like even Krishna's friends in the other Leelas, like the Mathura Leela and Dwarka, which you'll see in the Srimad Bhagavatam or Krishna book, depending on what you pick up.
Dwarka where he's older and like the king of Okay.
Very opulent king.
Right.
Yeah, he has many palaces, and there are multiple queens in these palaces.
Right.
And he's present in all of these palaces simultaneously.
Right.
Just like in the Rasa dance, Krishna is present with all the gopis simultaneously.
And Dwarka, is that where we ultimately want to land?
No.
No, Dwarka is here. We want to go to the spiritual world, to a loka.
Goloka.
Okay, Goloka.
And we want to be in this pastime in Vrindavan. Now, some of us may have a different ras. Like, for instance, you may want to be with like Lakshmi and Narayan. They have, Narayan Loka. You can have that opulence, or you can be with Krishna in his Dwarka Leela or his Mathura Leela. That you can do if that's what you want. And that's beautiful.
What she wants.
But ultimately, it's
being one of the gopis.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Of course. Yeah. So anyway, it's ultimately what's the disposition in our hearts that where we will end up. But it's not something you really discuss amongst each other. It's just something.
Private.
It's something completely private. You keep that in your heart.
Right.
And if channeled correctly, it can encourage you, but you still have to go through this spiritual process of practicing the 4 regulative principles, and staying vegetarian, offering prasadam, chanting every day, being in devotee association, doing service when we can, within our means, within our energy, we do service, and in that process, then we are cultivating that a certain level of purity from the material world, where eventually we will at some point we will realize our eternal relationship with Radha and Krishna. So it's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Should we recommend for Christa to listen to the Mahabharata? Do you think?
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
what's that?
Changed my life.
So it's this is an epic in which like the Pandavas, Arjuna and his brothers and his mother, and they're having a struggle with their, Arjuna's cousins, the Kauravas, and the Kauravas want to take over Hastinapur. They basically want complete control over Bharata, but of course they go through these extreme struggles. Eventually Krishna helps them after they go through these struggles, and then he speaks the Bhagavad Gita. It culminates in the Battle of Kurukshetra, which, although it was a very bloody battle, but ultimately it was something that had to transpire because the Kauravas were completely incorrigible, and they were very powerful. They were dangerous. They were one of the strongest warriors, the Kauravas and the Pandavas. And at least when the Pandavas were acting in righteousness, but the Kauravas were acting in tyranny. And they had, we hear this in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. So, the Pandavas acted responsibly, the Kauravas did not.
But I feel like listening to the Mahabharata really, so the Bhagavad Gita is like a chapter in that it's like an epic story.
So it puts it in context.
Right.
Yes. But it's a lot. It's like listening.
It's like
listening almost to a fairy tale, because there's so many different people and they do such phantasmagorical things.
Right.
Yes.
But it's all documented information, and it comes from another time, and all these families and all these unions lead up to the Kurus and the Pandavas being these two powerful families. And it's really a description of like good over evil, and how we respond and react to each other in different situations because of greed or because of loyalty. And
Interesting.
yeah, it's very interesting, and it's a little hard to swallow, but it's really like, just listen to it and let it go.
There must be analyses on it too.
A little bit, yeah.
In the Mahabharata, when you read the book, there aren't analyses. But if you were to listen to, let's say, Bhagavad Gita as it is, then you would be listening to the same purports that I'm reading during these classes.
there's not
studies.
really commentary on the Mahabharata, but there's commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, because the Bhagavad Gita is like
the philosophical part,
right? And also it's like considered the Bible of like the Hindu, right? Sort of.
kind of.
I mean,
I would say it's the go-to scripture. There are so many, let's quote unquote, Hindu scriptures. Sanatana Dharma, which is eternal truth, that's the true name of Hinduism. So, there are so many scriptures, but the Bhagavad Gita is probably the most concise of those scriptures.
right, and pretty much, what I was told is that pretty much every Hindu family or householder has a Bhagavad Gita and will read from it, and
Yes.
yeah,
True.
It put everything really. It made a huge difference, like for me, and I know when Nancy read the Mahabharata, it kind of gives you just a better, more clear understanding what's happening in the Bhagavad Gita. It just kind of like put it together for me, because you learn about Krishna, you learn about Arjuna, you learn about that,
gotcha.
Before this happens, before the Bhagavad Gita happens, and and the relationships that Krishna has with all of these other people.
So basically it would help me come to understand how all this came to be.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I think so.
Me too. It pulls it all together.
Like, why do people believe this? I would have a better understanding.
Yeah, and there's a lot of great, just messaging,
Messages.
yeah,
definitely.
messages of just life, like how to live your life, and how to die, and like, which I think ultimately for most of us is
Our greatest fear.
the biggest fear. And to, like, even just this whole
Actually,
thing.
my biggest fear is suffering, not death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I understand.
Well, yeah, but
Yeah.
and that too.
True.
Yes, absolutely.
It,
And it helps with that too.
Yeah.
It kind of brings that together.
Yeah.
And
I mean, the material world is a place of suffering. I mean, to some degree, sometimes it's more than intense than other times. But what we do learn from when we dedicate ourselves to these scriptures for some time, we do learn about the nature of this material world and how much suffering there has always been, and eventually we learn how to be equipoised, how to but it's not just we know that through learning about the nature of this world. We also learn about, like, through where we can potentially go. Eventually we will eventually be in the spiritual world, as long as we remain humble and remain true to
right.
becoming attached to Krishna.
And even that verse, like, just knowing and believing and having faith that your soul is eternal and cannot be broken, cannot be cut, cannot be destroyed. I feel like it's such an important.
It is. Because,
message.
and I will say, I think it's because of two reasons. Like, we have, let's say, atheists in our society who believe that when we die, that's it. There's nothing after that. We also have a significant amount of people in Abrahamic faiths, that say that if we do not, like, let's say they say like Jesus is the only way, or the Muslims will say you have to. I once went to a Muslim mosque, and there was an imam there. He said, you have to pray 5 times a day. If you don't do it, you will go into the hellfire. I literally heard this. Like, I was absolutely flabbergasted when I heard this, But but basically there's an attitude among these two main faiths in the world that if you don't follow what they're saying, then you will not get another chance. That's it. You have this one chance, and if you don't listen to us, you're done. But we don't believe that. Absolutely not.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say the worst consequence is that if we don't embrace these teachings of Mahaprabhu, that we may have a more time-consuming process. Like, we'll have to go through these births, and then, like, come back the next time that Mahaprabhu appears, and there's this worldwide, the community of devotees that can teach us about these spiritual matters. But we don't lose it. Whatever we've learned, we're never going to lose that. We will always have it.
So you believe at some point that that some of that memory comes back to you.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's really through the mercy of Krishna, the mercy of Srimati Radharani, the mercy of all the devotees that, because, like, for example, Srila Prabhupada, he came to America. He had at least 1 or 2 heart attacks, multiple on the way. He spent almost a year without having a following. Eventually, the young people of New York City, they wanted to know more. He was just so devoted. He would keep doing lectures. He would teach everybody, and he would do the translations of his books, and he would sleep 2 hours a day.
And chant the Maha Mantra.
Yes, all of that. And even there were people saying while he was sleeping, he was making these movements to do arati for the deities. So he was constantly in this state of service. And it's when we have these high-class devotees that come to us that that is the ultimate mercy. Then we can learn more. We can learn about ourselves and learn about God, learn about where we're going, where we can go if we make that choice.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I just noticed I don't think we actually went over all 5 rasas.
You didn't. We missed one.
Yes, we were 2 more.
Yeah.
I don't know if I should wait for Dawn. Dawn has heard this before.
Yeah,
You said peace, friendship, and servitude.
Servitude, yes. And then there's a parental affection, Vatsalya Ras. And that, for example, that would be like Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj with Krishna. And also the, Vasudeva and Devaki, which are the parents of Krishna in Mathura. That it would give him like the right as a nobleman.
Krishna has parents?
Yes.
He does. Now, that doesn't mean that they created him.
Oh.
What it means is that Krishna has given them this privilege of loving him in a parental mood.
Which is one of the rasas.
Krishna
right?
is eternal.
Oh.
Yes. I mean, this is his eternal identity. He's always been Krishna. He will always be Krishna. But, it's the, what do you call it?
Pastime.
It's the pastime, exactly.
It makes me think about all the different meanings of the word parent, the word friendship, the word service or servitude. Like sometimes we may think about certain meanings, but that's not the one that's intended. Like I just said, wait a minute, how could Krishna have parents if you say
Right. Yeah.
Right. But that's not what you mean. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
Good.
It's all very interesting.
And we're all like here trying to, like, what do they say that we're perverted
The perverted reflection.
Pratibimba Abbas,
Right.
perverted reflection.
of those pastimes?
Of the
that-
spiritual.
It's
Right.
it all.
But yet we're perfect.
Yes.
We're perfect. We're a bit clouded
We're
because
just trying to remember that we're perfect.
we're infinitesimal fractions of the Supreme with an eternal identity as being distinct from Krishna.
Achinta beta beta tattva.
Yes, we're different but the same. Achintya beta beta tattva, exactly.
Simultaneously one and different. Just
One.
like a drop of the ocean
Hmm.
is a part of the ocean, but it doesn't contain all the elements of the ocean. It has part of the ocean. So
Right,
it's the
and
same
a
thing.
ray of sun
It's
is
just a ray.
part of the sun, but it is not the sun,
Right.
Yeah.
Which, like, this, so for me, it excites me because this is the only thing for me in my life, because I did not grow up with God, or God was never spoken about in my house, and throughout my whole life, I would want to believe in God, but I really didn't. And this makes so much sense to me that this clicked in my heart for some reason, and yeah,
The soul remembers.
it
Just like he said, like none of our spiritual activities go to waste. That's your soul remembering. It hasn't been wasted. You have that in you.
Right.
You learned this one time. You just like got distracted a little
it
bit.
took me a very long time to get there, but that, like, even just listening to the Mahabharata for me, it's like, wow, that makes so much sense,
So that's your soul then. Your inner nature,
Yeah, it just clicked
that's
with,
what you come back to.
yeah.
Mhm. Exactly.
That's the part that they're saying cannot be broken
Right.
while you're still alive, and if you are eternal, then it will never be
It's
broken.
never broken, right?
It gives me peace like
Yeah.
that. Just that statement alone, and everything in the Mahabharata gave me a lot of peace. It was like puzzle pieces going together for me while I was listening to it, and then also seeing people that were so righteous, and the other side of that were the people that were, I'm not going to say evil, but watching how they maneuvered through life, or what they did to greed, and then the Pandavas, like I just kept thinking like I want to be surrounded by people like the Pandavas. It gave me like I want to be that way.
Nice.
You know,
and that's
Sounds
a
like
beautiful
good
feel.
reason.
Yeah. I think this is just my personal belief, is that if we have this inclination in our hearts, we should very quietly encourage that, because that's going to make us more attached to the divine.
right?
So I've always had an inclination in my heart to understand like other people, their people's beliefs, to understand, you know, higher, to feel awe, you know, because like you were talking about, you know, in nature, and for like, I didn't have as much, like I had to cultivate the feeling of awe, and, you know, really having that spiritual feeling, for lack of a better word.
And it's, you know, and I feel like I had the same inclination as a young person, because my mother was Catholic. I was pretty much raised Catholic. My father was raised Muslim, and I always had this deep like curiosity about God, and I was very curious just because I was born with that diversity, and I always wanted to know about different religions. And I'd always been intrigued with Hinduism, but I never really kind of delved into it until I met the devotees.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's funny, even as a kid, I was always attracted to the smell of the spices
Yes,
from India.
me too.
Like things make so much sense to me
Yeah.
now. I'm like, oh, I was seeking.
Mm-hmm.
I remember saying to my mom, like, okay, so what? So after the clouds, there's what? And she's like, the sky. I'm like, she's like, the stars, the moon, the sun. I'm like, what about after that? Like, if I kept going up, 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 up. And she's like, it's just infinity, Nancy.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. What do you mean? If it's just, I said, so after that, there's just air. And I remember as a kid being so frustrated, being like, but after that, after that, and
like
after
you knew
that,
in your heart.
and now it makes sense that we're a speck. Like there's so many universes, and it's not. We're not just this. Like we think, oh, this Earth, and that's it, and the planetary system. But no, it can't be.
Maybe that's why I had so much trouble with awe, because I had the frustration instead of feeling the wonder and the miracle. I felt the frustration of not knowing, or of picking something apart and saying, well, that can't be true, that can't be true.
Yes.
Instead of well, wow, this is amazing, and I don't know the truth. Instead of the awe of I don't know, I had the frustration.
Right, like I feel.
I never realized that before until you said that.
Yeah.
But that's why I had so much trouble feeling that.
Yeah.
I never knew that. I thought it was just because I'm blind and I can't look at nature. I blamed it on my blindness. Oh, I can't look at, you know, all these cool things, because that's usually how people describe awe.
Right. Did you have your sight? Did you ever have your sight?
No. But that's not the reason. I know that now. As soon as you said that.
That's a great realization.
Yeah, that's a great realization.
Beautiful.
I wasn't gonna say that today, but twice I almost did tell that story of like, but what is next, and the frustration I felt as a kid, like, but reading listening to the Bhagavad, something clicked, and that feeling, I was like, oh no, like I'm minute, like I'm tiny.
Before
Good morning.
Yeah.
Before too much time goes by, we didn't do all 5 rases. I just want to close that.
Okay,
before
go ahead.
So the ultimate, the highest ras is Madhurya ras. Madhurya means sweet or sweetness, and then that would be the ras with like how a woman will love Krishna, like in the spirit of being a lover of Krishna. But also it would also encompass those who wish to have the service and the friendship of Srimati Radharani. So
Madhurya
Lila.
Madhurya.
Yes, so that would be the gopis, the cowherd maidens of Raj. So that would be the form one would take in that ras.
Is there a way to listen to the Bhagavatam other than like?
There's probably audiobooks. I checked that. I think if you go on YouTube, there's some people reading the devotees. They're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam.
You can listen to lectures by Srila Prabhupada on the Bhagavatam.
Yeah, but that might
he
be
has an
hard.
accent.
It's kind of.
I think somebody does read the Bhagavatam because I was really curious. I wanted to do the voiceovers for it myself, and I was looking did any of Prabhupada's books, have they not been turned into audiobooks? And I think they all have been, really.
Yeah, the CC too.
Yeah.
And the Mahabharata, you called it?
Yeah, that's pretty easy to get. It's on Audible.
Krishna Dharma.
Krishna Dharma.
By the author.
So I can probably get that in the library then.
Most likely, yes.
That's mine.
That's all right. That's fine.
Audible.
Yeah, that's true. I have a membership, so I can get that.
Yeah, absolutely. I would highly recommend that. If you can get Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita on Audible, that's also a good start to have. But I think if you listen to the Mahabharata,
I don't think you can.
You can't. Oh.
That's the one with the purports in it.
Yeah, the purports. But if you listen to Mahabharata, that would be wonderful. That would it would give you a lot of context with what we're talking about here.
And how long is it? So that
it's long.
I think it's 6 hours.
I think it took me months.
If you don't mind, I'm going to just check it real quick.
But I couldn't wait to listen when
I kept rewinding, so it took I think, but I was addicted to it in a crazy way. But I think it was a month.
It sounds like the Epic of the Ages.
It is.
And you just keep thinking, why is there not a movie, a real trilogy? There is Star Wars, because the Mahabharata would be forget it. I just don't understand.
And it's sometimes it can come across as no way, that can't be real or can't be true. So you have to have an open mind and just say, well, why not?
Well, I read fiction all the time. I would.
Oh my God. 45 hours and 35 minutes.
Is the Mahabharata?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
One time I actually recorded a 20-hour audiobook, and I thought that was crazy.
Did you? You do have the voice for it.
Thank you. Yes.
Right?
I've done.
Tell him that
I've recorded 14 books in the past, but no devotional books yet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So so and then you say I would say that same thing oh, that can't be true but then I would say, oh, but it was 5,000 years ago
or longer,
and all of these people were that's what they did, was they prayed, they were seeking, and they didn't have jobs and cars and all the busyness, so that's all they were focused on. So of course they had what seemed like special powers in a sense, and it makes sense because the closer I get to this or God or meditation, I was talking about nature, so now, not that I feel like I have special powers, but something is changing my relationship to nature now, that I'm taking myself out of the busyness,
Seeing your connection with nature more.
Feeling it, seeing, it's so then now this becomes even more possible in my mind. I'm oh, do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah, the possibilities become unlimited, and it's through love and connection, and we don't realize how connected we are to the universe or to the people things around us. Even the grass, even the rocks, there's a connection.
Oh, everything has a vibration. Blade of grass, or the clouds, just the smell, it's everything. And now this makes even more sense now that I don't say now I'm an introvert, but I used to be very social always wanting to be around people, always wanting to do this thing and that thing and that thing. And now that's not the case.
Everything that takes you away from that
connection. Yes.
Yeah.
So now I'm learning like, oh, I like it. It's almost necessary for me to have time alone, time in nature. That's the recharge, the napping that I never did my whole life because my family didn't let me nap. So these little things of, without it, I wouldn't be able to really function. And I wasn't functioning for many years. I was in fight or flight. I was not really functioning. But now that I am, all of this is like, oh, it makes such sense. I don't know. I can't even see it another way anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, something that I thought was mythology for many years. I'm like, no, it's not mythology.
It's the difference between existing and living.
Yes.
Are you existing or are you living?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I'm finally starting to live, and it feels really good, not just existing and trying to
learn that.
Yeah, it's going to be thank you to everyone.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Class?
Yeah, you have great insights, Christa.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's that?
You have really good insights.
Yeah, Christa.
Thank you.
Great questions too.
Yeah.
Great questions that I find I'm surprised you're asking like that question because I didn't get there for so long. This is like your second time sitting with us.
I've been at this a while.
Yeah.
I just haven't been studying Hinduism, but that doesn't mean I haven't been asking the big questions.
You really have. It shows that you've been asking the big questions.
I'm a philosopher at heart.
It definitely
And that,
shows
I love that. Because
I really
feel
do.
like I feel like I
All right, so I have the
And it's